She said that the first step was there was like and they would have to do would be her and an escort.
That's the shocking testimony that had Diddy literally losing it in court. Cassie Ventura took the stand and described the horrifying darkroom torture sessions that will make your skin crawl.
Now, step 2, she alleges, is that's when all the baby oil comes out.
And guess what? Step 3 is even worse. And step 4, that's not for the faint-hearted. In this video, I captured Diddy's scalding reaction, a detailed description of the darkroom session and the impact on Diddy's case. Let's get into it. Cassie's bombshell testimony. The courtroom erupted when Cassie Ventura, pregnant and composed, took the stand to detail the horrors she allegedly endured at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs.
She says that, you know, it was very well choreographed. Like, it was almost, when she was describing it, I was like, it sounds like he was shooting a music video.
Executive producing.
No, for real, for real.
Y'all, these weren't just wild parties. These were methodical, organized events that Cassie described as being choreographed, like Diddy was directing a music video. This man treated these encounters like he was shooting a Bad Boy Records production, complete with specific lighting, scents, and props. Cassie broke down these freak-offs into 4 distinct steps, explaining the disturbing system that Diddy allegedly created.
So that first step was the descriptive foreplay, and then step 2 was the touching.
Step 1 was what she called descriptive foreplay, where she would have to verbally describe everything happening with the male escort. Diddy wanted to hear every detail, like he was listening to an X-rated audiobook.
Oh, she said that the first step was there was like and they would have to do would be her and an escort, and she would have to talk out loud and describe what she was seeing.
Step 2 was the touching phase, and this is where all that baby oil would come out. When authorities raided Diddy's properties, they found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. That's not a personal supply, that's a wholesale inventory. Man was running an entire slip and slide operation in his bedroom.
She said that they would oil up so much. That was like a big thing for Puff, allegedly. Like, you had to be oiled, that every 5 minutes they were like just re-oiling because
he wants you to look like a shiny suit.
Yeah, because it glistens, and I guess it's the sexiness of baby oil.
Step 3 was the oral activities, which Cassie admitted she would rush through just to get it over with because she didn't want to be doing any of this in the first place. She was just participating because she was so in love with Diddy and didn't want him to do these things with anyone else.
She just was doing it because she was so in love, and she said she didn't want him to go and do it with anybody else. Now, step 4 was the actual intercourse, where they would engage in, you know, sex.
Step 4 was the actual intercourse, where sometimes Diddy would just watch, but other times he would join in if they were really comfortable with an escort. But wait, it gets even worse. Cassie testified that after these encounters, Diddy would make her take the male escort's finishing product and rub it on his chest and nipples. I'm trying to keep this family friendly, but what in the actual...
She said that a lot of times after they would finish, the escorts would have a happy ending, and Puff would make her take that happy ending and rub it on his nipple, and then they would engage in whatever they were going to do, just Cassie and Puff allegedly.
So his man milk on Puff's...
That's what Cassie's alleging, that she that Puff liked her to rub it on his chest and on his nipple.
They actually called it man milk. In the courtroom, this testimony had everyone gagging, including Diddy's family members who were present.
So chocolate-covered nipples with a semen drizzle.
Yo,
glaze. Shut up, man.
And glaze, we have to say glaze.
One of the most disturbing allegations involved a male escort who was allegedly made to urinate on Cassie during one of these encounters. When asked why she didn't just tell them to stop or move out of the way, Cassie explained, when they would get to a point where it was too much for her, sometimes he would tell the escorts, Puff would tell the escorts allegedly like, yo, all right, let's stop, let's chill. So they asked her like, why wouldn't you just tell them to stop yourself? And she said, I mean, I'm laying on the floor and allegedly intoxicated by all these things, and it's 2 men standing over me. What am I going to do? So I just laid there. Cassie painted a picture of complete powerlessness in these situations, often being under the influence of substances and feeling unable to resist. She was allegedly forced to participate in these activities even during her monthly cycle, which she didn't want to do but felt coerced.
And we've heard this story, but she said that, because we heard before that there were extra linens because
of dookie on the sheets.
So what she said was she was actually made to have freak-offs during her period, and so there would be blood on a lot of the sheets.
But why did Cassie keep participating if she hated these encounters so much? She explained that she was a very jealous girlfriend who was desperately in love with this powerful rich man with a 17-year age difference. She didn't want another woman taking her place, and Diddy had shared his secrets with her.
She felt vulnerable because he had shared this secret of these voyeurisms and freak-offs that he liked to do. She didn't want another woman coming in and swooping up in her place. And a lot of times she alleges, and we saw actual text messages they brought up where she tried to tell him she didn't want to do a freak off.
The prosecutors even showed text messages where Cassie tried to tell Diddy she didn't want to do a freak off. And his response was basically, "You're boring, you're predictable." Classic manipulation tactic. Cassie felt pressured to comply, so he don't do it with somebody else. During Cassie's testimony, Diddy was visibly shaking in the courtroom, looking pale and significantly thinner than his usual self. His nervous state was apparent to everyone present. But you said, how did he look? They look stressed out. He's definitely a lot thinner. Face is very pale, a lot of gray hair, some black, but a lot of gray hair. You could tell he was nervous, and he said it in the courtroom, and he had asked to go to the bathroom. He was like, "Excuse me, Judge, you know, I'm a little bit nervous," but you could tell at one point in time I saw, and I was watching him very closely, I saw like his hands shaking a bit, but very involved he's fighting for his life, literally. Like, I mean, he came with a file like a case of paperwork. He was on the tablet sitting next to Brian Steele. He's reading every drawer. Profile as things are happening. This man is shook, and rightfully so. He's facing charges that could lock him up for the rest of his life. The male escort's contradicting testimony. Now here's where things get even crazier. Remember that male escort who allegedly participated in these freak-offs? Well, he took the stand, and what he had to say painted a very different picture. The escort was described as a black man, probably like 5'7", really stocky, like, you know, muscle. He testified that Cassie called him every time they wanted to hook up, and that when he first met them, he was told it was for a bachelorette party.
He shows up in an NYPD t-shirt, and he says Cassie opens the door. She's in red lingerie, she's in a wig, dark glasses, and pumps.
According to the escort, Cassie told him, "My husband likes to do special things for me. He wanted to do this for my birthday." When he walked in, Diddy was allegedly sitting in the corner with a bandana tied around his face and a hat on. The escort testified that he and Cassie had intimate relations on the couch, while Diddy sat in the corner and pleasured himself. He claimed he recognized Diddy immediately by his voice when Diddy spoke.
He told him he worked in import to exports. So when he said that, he said, I instantly caught the voice. And I'm like, well, how did you catch the voice? He said, I've been listening to this man, majority of my whole life.
Now here's the wild part. When prosecutors brought up the incident where the escort allegedly performed that explicit act on Cassie, the escort claimed it was Cassie who asked him to do it, not Diddy. Talk about a plot twist.
Exactly, because the prosecutors opened up that literally probably like 15 minutes before that. The prosecutors were like, Cassie is going to tell you that Diddy allegedly made this escort urinate on her. That there's an escort sitting in front of us sworn in on the stand saying, no, Cassie told me to do that.
This created a huge discrepancy in the case, potentially undermining Cassie's credibility. However, the escort did corroborate some aspects of abuse, claiming that he couldn't get hard anymore after seeing Diddy allegedly beat up Cassie badly at her house.
He said one time he couldn't get hard anymore because he went to Cassie's house. They got comfortable with him. He came to Cassie's house. When he was there, Cassie and Diddy was in the room. He was outside in the living room. Diddy comes out and goes off on Cassie, like allegedly beats her up bad because she took a long time to come back in the room to him. And he said after he saw that was his first time seeing her get physically touched.
So while the escort's testimony contradicted Cassie's claim about who initiated certain activities, it still supported the narrative that Diddy was physically abusive towards her. The escort's testimony was still ongoing, with cross-examination set to continue. This all had a visible impact on everyone in the courtroom, including Diddy's family members who were present.
It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. After he started, the male escort started getting into a lot of the and stuff, they got up and left.
Imagine sitting there while people describe your father's alleged sex parties in graphic detail. That's a therapy bill waiting to happen. The charges, defense strategy, and surveillance video. Let's break down exactly what Diddy is facing in this trial, because it is serious. Sean Diddy Combs' trial began with jury selection on May 5th, 2025, at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Manhattan, with opening statements scheduled for May 12th. He's facing 5 counts. 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, could get life. 2 counts of sex trafficking, minimum 15 years each. 2 counts of transportation for prostitution, up to 10 years each. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges, but the prosecution came in with receipts longer than a CVS receipt after you buy some chapstick. The prosecutors are painting a picture of Diddy as a man who couldn't control his anger, especially when it came to Cassie. They brought up an incident where Cassie supposedly got upset that Diddy was dealing with other women, so she decided to go deal with someone else. When Diddy found out, he allegedly grabbed his gun, took 2 staff members, one of whom did not want to go, and went looking for Cassie at this man's house. The prosecutors are calling that kidnapping.
She decided to go deal with somebody else, so she dipped. Puff was coming. He came, he's looking for her, can't find her. He grabs his gun. Two of his staff members, one of the staff members said that she did not want to go, and allegedly she was forced to go. So they labeled that kidnapping. And they went to this man's house looking for Cassie in this rage. Cassie wasn't there, and it was like all hell broke loose.
What in the Tony Montana is that? Imagine if your ex pulled up to your new booze crib with a squad and a strap just because you moved on. That's not I'll be missing you, that's I'll be threatening you. Now, Diddy's defense team came in with an interesting strategy. They basically admitted to everything except the actual charges. They're saying, yeah, he was trash, but not criminal trash.
All they did was own up to everything. They're like, look, he was angry. He can't control his anger. He, might have abused drugs and been a horrible boyfriend. Y'all gonna hear text messages and audios that make him sound like a horrible person, and that he may have been. All of the most horrible things you could think about him when it comes to how he dealt with the women in his life, he's owning up to it.
Their whole argument is, if he was guilty of domestic violence, we wouldn't be arguing today. But since he's charged with sex trafficking and racketeering, they're fighting it. That's like saying, yeah, I stole the candy bar, but I didn't rob the whole store.
Like, if he was guilty of domestic violence, we wouldn't be arguing today. I mean, if he was charged with domestic violence, we wouldn't be arguing today. If he was charged with abuse in a certain way, we wouldn't be arguing today. But because he's charged with everything else, the sex trafficking and all these other things, we're here because he's not guilty of that.
The defense is trying to argue that just because something is immoral doesn't mean it's criminal. But I don't know if the jury is going to buy that when they're hearing all this disturbing testimony. A key piece of evidence in this case is the surveillance video from March 2016 that captured Diddy assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. This footage, which was released by CNN in May 2024, shows Diddy grabbing, shoving, and kicking Cassie. They brought in a witness who was working security at the Intercontinental Hotel when this incident happened. This man, Israel Flores, was now an LAPD officer, but back then, he was responding to a call about a woman in distress on the 6th floor. According to his testimony, when he arrived, he saw Cassie and Diddy arguing. Cassie kept saying, I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave, but Diddy was like, no, she's not going anywhere. The security guard had to step in and tell Diddy that if she wanted to leave, they would allow her to get her things and go. He also claimed that when he walked Cassie and Diddy back to their room, he saw a man in dark clothing sitting on the bed, which becomes important because of the conflicting narratives about what led to the hallway assault. Cassie's version is that she was trying to get away from one of those freak-off situations that she didn't want to be part of, and that's why Diddy assaulted her in the hallway. But Diddy's team claimed that's not what happened at all.
Now, Diddy's team is saying...
so that's why the video matters to the court.
Diddy's team is saying, no, because freak-offs weren't a thing. You guys were consensually engaging in sexual acts, but that's not even what happened here.
According to Diddy's team, they were arguing over something Cassie saw on Diddy's phone. They're saying it was just a very tumultuous, jealous relationship, not anything to do with forced sexual encounters. During cross-examination, Diddy's lawyer, Brian Steele, tried to discredit the security guard's testimony by pointing out inconsistencies. The security guard claimed Cassie had a purple eye when he first saw her, but that wasn't in his incident report from 2016. He also mentioned seeing a man inside their hotel room, but that wasn't in the report either.
So he instantly starts getting him. He's like, okay, so you mentioned something about Cassie having a purple eye when you got off of the elevator. Why wasn't that in your incident report? The man said, well, I didn't think that was significant to put in. Brian still said, so you thought it was significant today, but it wasn't significant 9 years ago? So then he says, you said that you saw a man inside of their hotel room. Why wasn't that in your incident report? Did you ask the man his name? Did you talk to him? And he was like, no, because the man didn't really say anything.
The defense also pointed out that the security guard recorded videos on his personal phone and sent them to his wife, laughing about how shiny his shoes were, not exactly taking the situation seriously. The defense suggested that this security guard might have been covering up for Diddy back then, but got a conscience now. Regardless of the security guard's credibility issues, that video of Diddy assaulting Cassie doesn't lie. It's important to understand that Cassie's lawsuit filed in November 2023 was a catalyst for all of this. That lawsuit was settled the next day, but it opened the floodgates for over 60 more lawsuits against Diddy. By April 2025, over 63 lawsuits had been filed against Diddy, with allegations spanning from 1991 to 2022. We're talking about over 100 alleged victims, including 25 minors and one as young as 9 years old. If that doesn't make your skin crawl, I don't know what will. Prosecutors allege that Diddy ran a criminal enterprise that involved sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. They claim he would force women into days-long sexual activities with male commercial sex workers using violence, intimidation, narcotics, financial control, and threats. The allegations about his white parties are particularly disturbing. These events, held from 1998 to 2009 in places like East Hampton and Beverly Hills, were once celebrated for their glamour and exclusivity. But behind the scenes, accusers claim these parties had a much darker purpose. For example, Adria English, a former employee, alleged in a July 2024 lawsuit that she was groomed into sex trafficking at these white parties, being coerced into sexual acts with guests after being given drug-laced alcohol. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is trying everything to discredit the witnesses and prosecutors. Mark Garagos, whose daughter is one of Diddy's lead attorneys, called the prosecutors a six-pack of white women on a podcast, implying there's racial bias in the prosecution. The judge was not happy about this and threatened to hold Garagos in contempt of court if it happened again.
Because he's inferring that because these are all white women on the jury, that based on race, white women are going to convict a black man because of the race component. That's what he's implying by pointing to the fact that it's all white women who are going to prosecute Puff.
Diddy's legal team includes a formidable black woman attorney named Nicole Westmoreland, who's supposedly a beast at cross-examination. They're pulling out all the stops to defend him, but with the mountain of evidence piling up, it's looking rough for Mr. Combs. One thing's for sure, this trial has revealed the dark side of a man who was once one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. The once celebrated bad boy founder who became a billionaire by 2022 is now facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. The fall from grace has been swift and dramatic, with his honorary doctorate from Howard University revoked and New York City rescinding the key to the city that was awarded to him. As the trial continues, more shocking details are likely to emerge. With over 100 alleged victims waiting in the wings, this is just the beginning of what could be one of the most explosive celebrity trials in history. The prosecution seems to have a strong case, but Diddy's defense team is fighting tooth and nail to get him acquitted. Will justice be served? Or will Diddy somehow manage to escape these serious charges? Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. If you love this video, click on the card showing on your screen for more videos like this. According to his former bodyguard, Gene Deal, when Diddy was a free man, he used to perform crazy initiation rituals.
On the third day, they would drink, party, be merry, and the men would have sex with each other.
The Lil Rod court documents show how Diddy, alongside Universal Music Group executives and other associates, are in a gang that allegedly lets Diddy groom and kill artists like Usher, Bieber, and Biggie. But now that he's in prison, the same prison Epstein died in, these initiation rituals he used to blackmail and groom people have taken on a much darker tone. Here's the truth of the prison called Hell on Earth: Diddy's house of terrors and rituals. Tragically, the downfall of music producer and rapper P. Diddy is being accompanied by a series of little dirty secrets dancing in the light of the day. One of the horrifying secret occurrences is his gang initiation ritual, which has been characterized by paying homage to certain spirits at midnight during the full moon, and a night of endless homosexual activities by the initiates.
People who believe in the cult was looking for that moon on 12/12 at 12 a.m. And they were doing spiritual rituals at that time.
Who is this dude and how did he know this? This is Gene Deal, a former celebrity bodyguard who has done extensive protection work for Bad Boy Records and was P. Diddy's personal bodyguard for a number of years. He was even on the scene as Puffy's personal bodyguard on The Night Rapper, the notorious Big, was shot and killed. Now that you know who Gene Deal is, let's proceed with his shocking revelation about Diddy's wild ritual. The celebrity bodyguard explained that on the last day of the ritual, after the full moon has been sighted and the seasons are changed, that's when people...
They paid homages to certain sacrifices and homages to certain idols. And on the third day, they would drink, party, be merry, and the men would have sex with each other.
Shockingly, Gene Deal is not holding back any information. He is spilling all the beans about the ritual process Sean Diddy Combs indulges in. And you heard him. On the third day, he explained that the men would exchange gifts as they drink and marry, then wrap up the night by having sex with each other.
If you don't believe it, look it up for yourself.
Coming straight up from the comment section, this dude has a whole lot to say about the ritual Gene Deal was talking about. The ritual you mentioned is called the cremation of care, and traditionally a baby or child is burnt as a sacrifice to deity called Moloch. Most elites celebrate this at the Bohemian Grove. The root of this go back to Roman festivals dedicated to the god Satanius made popular by Emperor Caligula. It's more based in Satanism than what most people call paganism. Just wow. However, Diddy's former personal bodyguard is not the only one running their mouth about the extremely shocking lifestyle they experienced at Diddy's. Musician Usher, who was entrusted in Diddy's custody at the age of 13, said he saw very curious things when he lived with the music mogul. The You Got It Bad musician, 45, appeared on the Howard Stern show in 2016, where he opened up about his time living with Diddy for a year when he was 13 years old.
Hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
Usher then recalled that there were famous artists like Biggie Smalls, Lil' Kim, Craig Mack, Faith Evans, and Mary J. Blige, who were also hanging around at the time. When asked if he was staying up until 4 a.m. partying with Diddy and his entourage, Usher said he could, and actually stayed up longer than them. In a different interview with Rolling Stone in 2004, Usher revealed that P. Diddy exposed him to a different lifestyle, specifically to a different style of sex. He explained, "It's so hot in the industry, man. There was always girls around. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it, or several people in a room having an you never knew what was going to happen." In February 2024, the musician and stepper also opened up to People's Magazine about the crazy lifestyle he experienced at Diddy's Flavor Camp. He recalled how he was able to meet the big tops of the industry at a very early age, and also witnessed the making of some of the greatest albums in the industry. He recalled, "I can remember Outkast making their first records and being able to hear Rico Wade work on these songs, literally sleeping in this man's living room, being in the dungeon, just kind of being around and just trying to figure out who's who." But here's where it gets crazier. After experiencing most of the fun of his life and meeting the right connections in the industry as a young boy, Howard Stern asked the musician if he would like to send his son to one of those Diddy's flavor camps to acquire the experience he did. His response revealed a deeper meaning.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
No.
Hold up. Did you see how straight up he came with that? No, he is not about to make the same mistake of sending his offspring to experience what he did. These two comments represent the reaction of most people to this 2016 interview. This person reiterated, "Would you ever send your son to Puffy camp?" No. He is laughing, but you can see the pain in his eyes. It still haunts him. He got passed around by the entire industry. It's not worth sacrificing your soul for silver and gold. And another person added, "Him answering no to the question at the end tell me everything I need to know about what Usher experienced," shaking my head. To be honest, most people think that hell no was very telling. In another light, producer Lil Rod's grooming process into Diddy's lifestyle is perhaps one of the craziest experiences of his life. It appears that when Diddy picked up the phone and called Lil Rod to be part of the brains behind his The Love album, his life has not been the same again. The initiation ritual process was terrifying, shocking, and diabolical. Sadly, he endured all of that crazy stuff because it came with a promise of a Grammy.
I took a year out straight working on this album. That album is the Love album, Off the Grid by Diddy. And it's Grammy nominated right now as we speak. I should be celebrating, but the truth is I'm not.
Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. is speaking out for the first time since filing a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs in February. In the lawsuit, Lil Rod alleges Combs sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened him while he traveled and lived with the rapper between September 2022 and November 2023. In an interview with Rolling Stone, the 38-year-old music producer said he feared for his safety and his life. He also tagged Diddy as a monster. Lil Rod also alleges that Diddy did not pay him for his services after producing 9 songs off the album. "I'm broke. I have no source of income right now. Every month I'm trying to figure out how the bills are going to get paid. Here I am standing up for justice, for what I believe is right for my life, and I'm being punished for that. I'm blackballed for sure," he said in the interview. Anyway, before we go deep into Lil Rod's allegations and lawsuit, take a look at this creepy footage of Diddy with young Justine Bieber detailing how the events of their next 48 hours together was supposed to be unfolded.
He's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
And I remember at the time, most people were concerned about what an adult was doing with a 14-year-old in an undisclosed location and doing undisclosed activities. However, in the most shocking turn of events, an inmate from prison could not settle with the traumatic events he experienced during his time in a Michigan nightclub with Diddy in 1997. So you know what he did? He filed a $100 million lawsuit against the rapper and won based on default judgment because neither Diddy nor his lawyer showed up for the virtual hearing. The mind-blowing case was set in motion by Derek Cardello Smith, an inmate at Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility, Michigan, who is known for his long history of challenging the judicial system with civil lawsuits. Derek Cardello Smith is currently serving 75% of jail time for criminal sexual conduct and kidnapping charges, but did not allow his jail time to restrain him from seeking justice after being sexually assaulted by the entertainment mogul nearly 3 decades ago. Hold up. The lawsuit claims that Cardello Smith and rapper P. Diddy met while he was working at a Detroit area restaurant in 1997. During a night of drinking and weed smoking, they reportedly had sex with a group of women, according to the suit. Cardello Smith said he felt a man's hand touching him, which he claims was Diddy's. According to 51-year-old Cardello Smith, I then went to get another drink and Sean asked me if I needed something else. I said no, and he said, "Here, drink this one." And I thought it was another glass of Jim Beam, so I took it because I had sat one down in the other room, and then I drank some more. And I stayed sitting there, and I began getting drowsy and started to pass out. And then Sean Combs said to me, "I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another." And then I passed out.
And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away.
Now here's where it gets spicy. Cardello Smith then provided prison facility information with Diddy's name logged into the visitation record, which allowed him to claim that P. Diddy offered him $2.3 million to dismiss the lawsuit after he filed it. During the August hearing, Derek Cardello Smith told the court that P. Diddy persuaded him to drop the $100 million lawsuit and accept an out-of-court settlement, saying, "You know how we get down." Cardello then replied, "I disagree with how you get down." In that regard, the court granted his motion for a restraining order.
Your motion for a temporary restraining order was granted. I've signed it, and so we'll get that processed and back to you, and then you'll have to obviously serve that on the parties.
However, Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, refuted the judge's statement about his client being properly served with the lawsuit. He said that his client looks forward to having this judgment swiftly dismissed. If their claims stick, the case would be called back, and Cardello Smith would have to prove his allegations and claims in court, the mogul in custody. Some people said the simultaneous home raids by federal agents on 2 of Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles earlier this year were signs that the rapper would soon be going down R. Kelly's path. Well, they were right, because on Monday, the embattled music producer and rapper was arrested in a Manhattan hotel in New York City, barely 24 hours after the news of the $100 million judgment against him went viral. At the time of the arrest, it was unclear what the charges against him were because he was arrested based on a sealed indictment by a federal grand jury. According to TMZ, just a couple of hours before the rapper was arrested, he was confidently strolling the streets of New York City, greeting and taking selfies with fans alongside his son, Christian King Combs. Sources reported to TMZ that the rapper's arrest was scheduled for Tuesday morning, but due to some complications, Homeland Security surprised the rapper in a Midtown hotel where he was staying and arrested him based on a sealed indictment issued by the Southern District of New York. It has been confirmed that Diddy was taken into federal custody in Lower Manhattan. It appears the action was taken in connection with the ongoing criminal investigation into alleged sex trafficking and other offenses that led to search warrants being issued and executed at Diddy's homes in Beverly Hills and Miami. A courtroom sketch shows P. Diddy in his first courtroom appearance following the indictment where the charges against him were read and litigated. According to the 14-page federal grand jury indictment, Sean Diddy has been charged with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. According to news reports, as expected, at the hearing in Manhattan, the rapper pleaded not guilty to all the charges labeled against him and has tried to bond his way out of jail, but to no avail.
Diddy Combs has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
It was then reported that the music producer spent his first night behind bars in one of the most notorious jail facilities in the world, Hell on Earth. This facility's name feels so intense and suggestive of the horrible living conditions as described by Inside Edition news reporter Les Trent.
How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here.
Unfortunately, for someone like Diddy, who had enjoyed a life of luxury, comfort, and freak-offs, he would definitely find a hard time adapting in his new environment, where he has only a half-inch mattress without a pillow, plastic chair, and just 5 fit spaces to move around. Reports say that Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, told the judge that the facility is inhumane and a total tragedy. Hence, he is trying all he can to keep Diddy out of jail. His attorneys were so eager to keep him out of jail to the extent they are offering his $48 million mansion in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Inside Edition reported that Diddy's lawyers offered to restrict female visitors from visiting his house if granted bail, except for his mother, sisters, and mothers of his children. However, the judge refused to bend. After spending a night in hell on earth, CBS News reported that the music mogul walked into the courtroom for his bail appeal hearing looking calm and humble. However, despite the confidence and the calm fronting he walked in with, the federal judge denied him bail again, saying that if released, Diddy is more likely to tamper with evidence and/or witnesses. This is largely because prosecutors accused Combs of witness tampering, saying at the hearing yesterday that the rap mogul's employees tried to ensure his ex-girlfriend Cassie and hotel employees wouldn't say anything about a beating at a Los Angeles hotel 8 years ago. They argued that video of the assault, which captured Diddy kicking and stomping on the singer Cassie at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016, disappeared from the hotel's server before it was later obtained and published by CNN. According to authorities, bags of pink powder were found in Diddy's hotel room during his arrest. After Diddy flew to New York to await arrest 2 weeks ago on the advice of his lawyers, bags of pink powder were discovered in his hotel room. Although the powder was not tested, the prosecutors said it appeared to be narcotics and that similar bags previously seized at Combs' properties during the home raids tested positive for drugs, including ecstasy. Note that during the same raid, 1,000 bottles of baby oils were also retrieved from Diddy's residence. It is why some people think it would be hard for Diddy to get out of this mess because he spent his entire career working tirelessly to retire in prison. As evidence, authorities have interviewed more than 50 witnesses and collected dozens of cell phones, laptops, and hard drives, and they have a video that they claim shows the coerced sex and heinous acts that Diddy is accused of orchestrating. Hold up, guys. Let's not forget Lil Rod Jones' February lawsuit against Diddy. According to producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones' 73-page court document, due to his job description, which required filming P. Diddy at all times, he has secured 100 hours of footage showing P. Diddy alongside his associates and guests engaging in a series of illegal activities, which includes the use of ecstasy drugs and distribution of unregistered firearms. His lawsuit alleges that the A-list rapper has been involved in sex trafficking and assault on Lil Rod and other victims, including minors. Lil Rod's accusations, as well as the grand jury indictment, portray the rapper as a horrifying abuser and monster. However, in his defense, Diddy's lawyer warned that his client should not, in any way, be mentioned in the same sentence as some of the country's most notorious criminals. According to NBC News, the music mogul's defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said Combs is not disgraced singer R. Kelly, sex cult leader Keith Raniere, or accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Mark Agnifilo objected to the claims of the federal grand jury indictment that his client committed sex trafficking and other sexual assault-related charges. He referred to Diddy's crime as only cheating and being unfaithful over a dark period. He told the court, "This is different. These were consenting adults." Funnily, he added, "This is evidence not of sex trafficking, but of being caught being unfaithful." In his argument to grant bail for Diddy, Mark reminded the court he was in a 10-year loving relationship through dark periods. Although the first trial seemed to have gone out of their favor, Diddy's lawyer is still hopeful for bail in order to get his client out of hell on earth. He revealed that the rapper planned on surrendering to authorities before he was arrested in New York. While talking to reporters outside the courtroom, Mark Agnifilo said, "Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence." Then he proceeded to assert his claims that Diddy is not afraid and he would fight to the finish. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. Why was Diddy arrested?
All right, happening right now, hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs is in a federal courtroom this morning. The indictment was just unsealed, revealing that Combs is facing charges of trafficking and racketeering.
To be honest, Diddy's arrest did not meet anyone as a surprise. The beginning of 2024 kicked off with a waving flag announcing Diddy's tragic descent. I mean, with the spree of lawsuits and assault-related allegations that were fast rising against the rapper like his hits on Billboard Hot 100, it was only a matter of time before the feds came for him. Reading through the 14-page indictment was a jaw-dropping moment for me, as the charges against the rapper are too heavy for the mouth to hold. Nevertheless, I will break it down for you. The grand jury indictment against Sean Diddy Combs alleges 3 serious charges centered on the rapper's lifestyle dating back to the 90s, when the applause and attention were all on him. On count 1, the grand jury charged him with racketeering conspiracy, which alleges that the music mogul has, over the decades of his career, abused, threatened, and coerced men and women around him to fulfill his wild desires while simultaneously protecting his reputation. Just like many other people, you might be wondering how the rapper was able to do all these extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile things and still appear like a saint bearing the name Love. Well, according to the indictment, to do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engage in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Disturbingly, P. Diddy's pattern of abuse hinges on the manipulation of women and other people around him to participate in highly orchestrated performances with commercial workers, most times for his pleasure. But this is where I knew the rapper would be gone for long. The federal grand jury has tagged most of the businesses and enterprises led by Diddy as a criminal enterprise, and you know what that means, right? According to the indictment, Sean Diddy Combs and other known and unknown associates are members of a criminal enterprise called the Combs Enterprise. The federal grand jury alleges that since 2008, up to the time of their filing, these members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, trafficking and interstate transportation for the purpose of According to the indictment, the purpose of the enterprise includes fulfilling the personal desires of Combs, particularly those related to Combs' gratification, including through the exploitation of women and the use of commercial workers. On count 2 of the federal grand jury indictment, P. Diddy is charged with trafficking. The grand jury alleges that between the period of 2009 to 2018 in the Southern District of New York, where Diddy's enterprise is stationed, and elsewhere, Sean Diddy Combs engaged in interstate and foreign commerce in which he knowingly recruited, enticed, and transported a person tagged as Victim 1 to engage in commercial with disregard to the fact that Victim 1 was engaging in commercial due to force, fraud, and coercion. On count 3, the grand jury charged the embattled music producer and A-list rapper Sean Diddy Combs with transportation to engage in According to the indictment, between the period of 2009 and 2024, Diddy, who has been tagged as the defendant, knowingly transported an individual in interstate and foreign commerce with the intent that the individual engages in prostitution. The grand jury further alleged that the music mogul willfully caused the transportation of female victims and commercial workers in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in It is not a surprise to know that most people believe that Diddy's arrest, the federal grand jury indictment, and the previous home raids were attracted by the horrifying 2016 hotel hallway footage obtained by CNN in which Diddy was seen physically abusing ex-girlfriend Cassie. According to CNN, the video was from an incident in March 2016. It captures multiple angles. Cassie, whose name is Cassandra Ventura, alleged in a federal lawsuit in November that Combs and physically abused her, including punching, beating, kicking, and stomping her over the course of their relationship. However, shockingly, the lawsuit was settled the day after it was filed. Cassie Ventura anchored her courage to call Diddy out on New York's Adult Survivors Act, which allows victims of domestic abuse and assault to make a case regardless of when it happened. According to her, with the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I have experienced and that I will be recovering from for the rest of my life. In the video, Cassie Ventura exits a hotel room and walks to a bank of elevators. Diddy, holding a towel around his waist, runs down a hall after Ventura. He grabs her by the back of the neck and throws her to the floor. Still holding his towel closed with one hand, he then turns to kick her. The video shows. As Ventura is on the ground, Combs retrieves a purse and suitcase from the floor near the elevators. He turns around and kicks Ventura, again as she lies motionless on the floor. About 4 seconds transpire between the two kicks, according to the video. He then briefly drags Ventura by her sweatshirt toward a room before walking away. After the video was released, Diddy shamefully offered an apology online, claiming that he was in a bad place and he had sought therapy and now fully recovered. But you know what? Just when Diddy thought it was over, another lawsuit slapped him, and then another one. Then they kept coming. I'm sure you still remember the events of February 26, 2024. Yes, Lil Rod filed a lawsuit against his boss, Diddy, in which he alleged that he was subjected to unwanted advances by associates of Diddy at Diddy's direction during his stay in the rapper's house. Disturbingly, he also claims that Diddy forced him to have with workers. According to producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones' 73-page court document, the A-list rapper has been involved in trafficking and assault on Lil Rod himself and other victims, including minors. But here is where it gets crazier. The lawsuit identified rapper 50 Cent's former girlfriend and the mother of one of his children, Daphne Joy, as one of the alleged workers. The lawsuit also alleges that P. Diddy regularly hosted trafficking parties with underage women and illegal drugs, and implies record label executives who looked the other way financially benefited from access to celebrities and dignitaries, including the British royal Prince Harry. However, Prince Harry is not accused of any wrongdoing or of attending parties himself. Without a doubt, Lil Rod's lawsuit feels like a wide, deep, never-ending dungeon dug to bury rapper P. Diddy and everything he had ever worked for. But again, we should not forget that in November 2023, shortly after Cassie's lawsuit, Joey Dickerson Neal filed a lawsuit alleging that Combs her, assaulted her, and secretly recorded the assault while she was a college student in 1991. It seems the rapper's freaky, disgusting escapades date back to the early 90s. According to the lawsuit cited by NBC News, Joey Dickerson Neal claimed that on 3rd December 1991, Diddy asked her out on a dinner date, which she reluctantly agreed to, but that turned out to be the worst day of her life. She claimed that Diddy and abused her, resulting in her being in a physical state where she could not independently stand or walk. Just like a pattern, her lawsuit also alleges that Diddy recorded the abuse and showed it to his friends and associates. Although she reported the case to the police in New York and New Jersey and also spoke to prosecutors, she was told by her colleagues they were terrified that Combs would retaliate against them and that they would lose future business and music opportunities if they made a statement in support of. Interestingly, according to news reports, between November until present, 3 more women have come forward with lawsuits in the Southern District of New York alleging that they were assaulted by music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. As a matter of fact, 2 of the women alleged they were minors at the time of the abuse. Interesting times ahead, my fellow. If you love this video, click on the card showing on your screen for more videos.